Good afternoon, friends. The central themes of my talk would be on teamwork and leadership and excelling under pressure. As we are all aware that good teamwork breeds excellence. We will see a team which is already good transforming into an excellent one, and follow it up by some examples of a well-knit team performing in challenging situations. Now, for some perspective, the team we will talk about today is an engineer field company. This is a composite combat task force of about 200 men and trained in tasks for warlike action like mine warfare, demolitions, bridging and watermanship, roads, and such like. 3 field companies, plus some others, form an engineer regiment, which is a team of about 1,000 men. The motto of the Corps of Engineers is Sarvatra, which is Sanskrit for everywhere, and tasks which others hesitate to perform, they do with no fuss. Now, during peacetime, the focus is on preparation and training. And the key parameters for this are that they have to be clear and crisp shared goals. There's an emphasis on motivation and challenging the limits. The procedures for tasks and opportunity to learn experientially until most tasks become muscle memory oriented. And lastly, succession planning. Now for a deep dive into the elements which go into building a top team. I will take just one of many examples. Now, while in command of a field company, I received permission for completely out-of-the-box training. I wanted 1 week, 24/7, completely to ourselves. The area chosen for the training was in the foothills of Solan, between Pinjore to Nalagarh. That was 30 kilometers of desolate terrain, sparsely populated, and absolutely ideal for what we had in mind. The aim shared with the team that we will train for the full spectrum of field engineering tasks, and while being challenged to the limits of human endurance. During the conduct of the camp, we shifted our base forward every day of the week. I had a core team paint a war situation for multiple tasks to be executed in a day, which were primarily reconnaissance, planning, orders, execution of tasks, drills, and then feedback. Now, all key members were given an opportunity to perform one position up the line of command. The core group moved ahead to plan for the next day's tasks and returned immediately for umpiring the tasks being done, and so on. And of course, the tasks were rotated daily between the sub-teams. At the end of the camp, the team gathered around a campfire. And as expected, we saw people disheveled and red-eyed with lack of sleep. It's been a full week. What astounded us was a swagger in their step and a big grin on their faces. The team had undergone a transformation. The feeling in the air was one of, we did it. It was a remarkable sense of achievement. The team was building a reputation for doing difficult tasks. And of course, the morale was sky high. Now, let us see how this translates in stepping up to make a difference. And I would recount 2 instances of creating an impact in the real world. I will never forget the night of 3rd December 1971, 50 years ago. The voice of our Prime Minister over a transistor radio in my bunker announcing the outbreak of war. And then we were off into Bangladesh. A series of moves forward, one task after another. A bridge made over a demolished span, no time for a breather, and then face to face with another demolished bridge. A quick reconnaissance and construction of a Krupman bridge at Khalispur. Another dash to reach the Madhumati River. The river was over 1,500 feet wide, but looked much more when we were standing on the banks. We had access to limited equipment. My core group carried out a reconnaissance and just about found a spot where the span could be covered, but with 2 different types of equipment. Reconnaissance was very important, and any error in calculating the span would cause the task to fail because we just didn't have any more equipment. The design was complicated as there was no precedence in training manuals, and our logistics by now were fully stretched. But the task force went on to make the bridge in 36 hours. Not only was this done, but this could only have happened with a superb team. At 1,344 feet, this was the longest ever made during war in any theatre. The field company, as part of the task force, had worked continuously for 3 days and nights. And of course, now you can see that our training paid rich dividends. A key assignment completed in very adverse circumstances. And of course, a feather added to our cap. My second example illustrates that miracles do happen when experienced achievers step up with a can-do attitude. Now we are fast forwarding to 1985. The National Games were on the horizon. And the Union HRD Minister, Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao, mandated the yachting events of the National Games had to be held in Delhi. Everyone was in an absolute tizzy because we felt this was a flawed decision, as the sailing club at Okhla on the Yamuna was good only for a lazy weekend sail. The task seemed impossible. The Yamuna was choked with water hyacinths, and national events were traditionally held in places like Mumbai, Chennai, or Kochi, which had the required infrastructure and organization. But what had to be done, had to be done. I was designated as the organizing secretary for the National Games and asked to give requirements for the event to happen. My plan spelled out the usual: the buildings to be made, infrastructure set up, boats, provision of funds, safety arrangements, and so on and so on. At the end, I had one non-negotiable element: a field company from my regiment. After some to and fro discussions, all this was agreed to. It was a very, very tight schedule. And when the field company came over, my briefing to the team concluded with, "Jawano, ye izzat ka sawal hai." What followed is history. Boats were flown in by the Air Force, the Yamuna cleared of water hyacinth, colorful ceremonies, exciting races, national games protocols followed, trophies, souvenirs, competitors, invitees, all happened. Shri P.V. Narasimha Rao at the prize giving ceremony gave a big shabash to the men for the conduct of the games. Now, what are the takeaways for you? I have shared some real world examples where teams did not lose hope in life and death situations or when facing severe resource and time constraints. Group dynamics essentially remain the same, whether the team is sized at 100 or 10 or scaled up to 1,000 or more. Wonderful things happen when a common goal is internalized. An attitude of "this is impossible" changes to "it will be done." Trust and open communication produce great changes. In my experience, a team leader is most effective playing the role of a facilitator and, of course, being a very good listener. And at the end of the day, the highest motivator for excelling comes from intrinsic factors, the naam, namak, nishan elements, and a feeling ingrained of never letting down the name of the team, institution, or nation. Now, you can ask a question: are we building a timeless institution? Now, these stories which I recounted are of a time when probably no one serving in my regiment would have been born. Now, we need to look at more recent evidence of the same regiment's performance, and I will look at two instances. 1998, Pokhran. India comes of age as a full-fledged nuclear power. The regiment made all the arrangements for the nuclear explosions. And we proudly earned the name, the sobriquet of the Shakti Regiment. More recently, 31st August 2021, the regiment builds the highest motorable road in the world, a matter of great honor for India. The 30 kilometers Shakti, note the name, Shakti operational track, connects Zingral to Tangse via the 18,600 feet Kela Pass in Ladakh. The verdict is clear. The regiment is in fine hands and well on its way in creation of a timeless institution. Now, coming to the present, I am vastly privileged to be part of the making of another great institution, Dhirubhai Ambani International School, which is fast approaching 2 decades of its journey. Now, what is happening here? With the vision and support of our chairperson, a community of committed educators and staff, a cohort of very excited learners, a happy atmosphere, great teamwork, and our motto, dare to dream, learn to excel, is exemplified every day. 30 years from now, we'll be having coffee in the clouds with some of my present colleagues. We look forward to seeing much evidence of creation of another timeless institution, where good human beings have passed out of our portals, going forward and making much needed changes in the world. Thank you and God bless. Jai Hind.